Now you're just white. Like there's no. Yeah.
Full head of hair too, for so long, you have polished head.
Anyone that knows him, they feel like you have so much hair. He does not have a lot of hair, but like because he was
Compared to what it
bald.
was, full head of hair too, for so long,
He's blonde.
Yeah, blonde curly hair was the cutest thing. Now it's like straight, nothing here. Not brown, not blonde. It's just-
Yeah, everyone that knows him has so much hair.
Okay, we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call the Downtown Development Committee meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. As a reminder, today's meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. Before we begin, I'll start with the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Boating. Boating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from the December 9, 2025 meeting. And I have a mover and seconder to adopt the minutes as presented.
With them here. Oh, yeah, with them.
You were on there.
Technically.
And seconder?
No.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so resolve that the minutes of the December 9th, 2025 meeting be adopted as presented. And all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest related to today's agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Next is the adoption of today's agenda. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda as circulated? Okay, if not, may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. So first, under the business arising is strategic priorities, including a review of the roundtable discussion and priority submissions. I'll turn this over to Josh.
Yeah.
To provide a summary.
Thank you, everybody. I think that, it's important to have these meetings when we can get quorum. But I think a lot of this is going to be some updates, especially considering the holiday season. So maybe we'll be out pretty quick. But where I'll start is I did take all of the comments and consideration from last month's meeting, as well as the emailed suggestions that were put in. To be completely honest, we have a pretty resounding kind of way forward. And it's kind of in 5 parts. This document here kind of speaks to it. Very sorry. It's a little bigger than last time, but not much bigger. But we do have, yeah, this one's definitely on me. This one's definitely on me. So in this order, I would say that feedback, we have events is number 1, communication and cleanliness and upkeep of downtown is both 2A and 2B. They were tied. Safety came in as 3rd, and economic health and the vacancy of downtown was 4th. There were a myriad of different suggestions that came through, and like I had said, I was going to put together an idea of which departments are responsible for maintaining these items. For example, there was comments in regards to 2-way streets from 2 of the committee members. And I provided some historical information that just in the last 10 years, there was a conversation and a consultation in regards to 2-way streets and what council's decision was in regards to those 2-way streets and kind of where we sit in our lane when it comes to that. Our deputy CAO mentioned last week also the waterfront development. This is already an active participant and or in active work. Is being spearheaded by, the city of Sault Ste. Marie, Tourism Sault Ste. Marie Destination, Northern Ontario. And what I tried to do was kind of share how the Downtown Development Committee connects to those strategic priorities. So if I start at our first one that was identified as an events, We obviously have a gap in regards to who's planning and executing our events downtown with the dissolution of the BIA, and it was always the understanding of council and the mayor that when we absorb those responsibilities, that city staff would actuate those events. So just trying to share kind of a one-to-one where we can be of value. And if I use another example, like the waterfront development, we wouldn't spearhead that, we wouldn't build it, it's already in motion, but what we would want to do is we would want to be aware of the updates of that plan. And we would want to think of ways how we can connect our downtown core to that waterfront. That's where we would be a piece of that puzzle. A little example of this, and I'll open up the floor, is when we have cruise ships in. We tried a myriad of different things like inviting the downtown businesses to be under the Bondar tent to be able to sell. We have gotten our downtown maps into the rooms of those cruise ships. So these are those pieces of connective tissue that we can help the economic prosperity of those businesses without being the leader of something like that, because that wouldn't necessarily be this committee's lane to lead that, because we're focused on the health and vitality of downtown and not necessarily what would necessarily be on the waterfront. So that's in the clearest and more succinct way I can explain this document. It is a reflection of the comments and concerns and what people see of value in the downtown. I know it's big, people have to read it over, but did anyone have any questions or concerns in regards to how that data should go? Excellent. So, Madam Chair, I think there's just a resolution to formalize this information and kind of put together almost like a one-pager or a document so that we're all aware of how we're going to be moving forward with especially these key points.
What's that? So the plan is to kind of take each one of these and kind of talk about that.
The first five is really what our essence would be. And even the fifth one, the economic health and vacancy, if you look at the comments, there's already a strategic plan from the Economic Development Corporation, which highlights downtown development. So I've already reached out in our terms of reference. It essentially says whatever staff and whatever department we need to contact, we can contact to work on projects. So I've reached out to Economic Development to see where they're at and what programs and resources they have available. And for example, if they have some sort of small business grant, or if they have some sort of advisory possibilities for small businesses, maybe it would be the job of Bree and I as staff who are assigned to the Downtown Development Committee to make sure that our downtown businesses are aware that this is a resource that the city has for them. So some of these are kind of, if I were to build a document out of this, a one-page strategic plan or something, I would kind of highlight the ones that are really internal to us and staff, and more, these are the partners and how we can assist those partners in those departments is what I would do next with this.
Josh, the only thing I would add, because I sit on the Economic Development Committee as well, and I suggested it to the folks there. Because there are lots of places where we kind of overlap, right, in terms of, you know, the geographic area, points of interest or points of things that we're trying to do or work out and stuff. And I suggested to them whether it'd be worthwhile to create like a subcommittee with members of each, our committee, the Economic Development Committee, and Tourism Sustainability Marine Committee. You know, to have on, to at least be able to get together, have that conversation so they can report back to each committee saying, okay, these are the points of overlap, you know, this is what we're attacking, so to speak, or this is what we're talking about. You know, and so that we're not duplicating our efforts, you know, focusing on things that maybe fall outside of the scope of the committee and stuff like that, and you know, able to kind of understand how we all interconnect in order to, ultimately drive the goal of each individual committee, right? So I throw it out there. I don't know what the logistics of that would be or would look like, or if it's even something that the other committees or whatever would support it or would want to participate in those discussions. So I just throw it out there that maybe as throw in the meetings as you guys go back and, from the city perspective, talk amongst the, each others to, throw it out there as a thing that, maybe it's a way to be able to sort out and figure out who's gonna attack what and when, maybe we could accomplish more. By each taking a piece.
For sure, I have a meeting in regards to the Downtown Development Committee and Economic Development working together. So I'll just add that and maybe I can just provide an update once at our conversation.
I just to clarify, I'm not sure what you were trying to say is that the committee is only gonna look at the top five and the rest is being taken care of by staff. Is that what you're saying?
To a degree, I mean, there are other committees, there are other departments that work on these items. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a city planner, things along those lines, right? So when it comes to some of these items, there's already a group of people and there's already a department working on those things.
Is this committee then, because a lot of these things I think have a direct impact on what the objectives are of the committee. So what I'm asking, I suppose, is there a way for this committee to have input or feedback or communicate? I'm talking particularly parking. I find that is a very important and poorly needs to be solved. We could create a lot more space for housing if we got our parking right, but this committee does not want to talk about parking,
I think the real salient point is that when the correct bodies inside of the municipality activate the need for that study, there's an opportunity for us to give impact, but we're just not the primary driver of parking lot community. So we aren't going to be that driver. We can be a support, we can provide input, but we can't dictate to council or to the departments when those issues are going to float to the.
I was just in a meeting with planning, with Jonathan, and I mentioned some of these things and he, it seems like a lot of these things right now are, maybe you're more aware, but, on the shelf. Right, like we had the study, we put it on the shelf, but there's nobody who's actually want to look at it to see if there's, things that could help and be done to make it, like a lot of recommendations have been made and they've done some of the things right, I think. But I think there's an opportunity that, to me, the downtown needs more people living there. And to do that, we need, Jonathan said, like, let's say we have 100 new houses built downtown over the next 5 years as a goal, or 20 even, and I think we started with the hospital site. But there's a lot of these relic buildings that end up, let's say, on the market, or they, for a variety of reasons, that what's the word, uninhabitable?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Let's say there's a way to get developers or people who want to build a house downtown, and we've identified that we have excessive parking, we identified that these lots, this could be used for a building. And then we have, we've done a lot of progress with getting more buildings downtown, but with the towers that are going up. But I think this community has an opportunity because of the aging population. I think about 50% of people are over 60 in Sault Ste. Marie, and a lot of people are gonna be looking to live differently because they live in McMansions on Fifth Line, Case Road, whatever. And they want to live in a place like downtown is a great place to live. if there was availability, and also families, and also these side of things. Because I think for me personally, I think a lot of these is really important, window dressing, but there's some core things that the city really opportunities to address, to improve, to make downtown a great place to live, and build, develop, and I think they've done that through the incentives that have been. And parking is an opportunity because we have 39% of our downtown is parking lot, which is on according to the study, we're in a 1 percentile. Like we have more parking than 99% of communities in North America. So it's about, and I think you support this because if you look at the biggest employers in the Soo, the city and I guess the OLG, there's a lot of space that could be freed up if excessive parking or redundant parking was made available for housing. And if you have more housing, more businesses, more people living downtown, I think you have a recipe for a successful downtown. But right now downtown, there's a lot of buildings that are falling apart. I don't know if they don't pay their taxes or these problems with people who have own property downtown that just let their buildings go to, and it's just a negative, they'll be reinforcing. But I know that is an important part. And that's my area that I feel passionate about, is to help to create a downtown that people want to live in, and a particular type of the particular group of people like seniors that are looking for that, and also the families, and we need schools, and then we need a grocery store, and we need all these things that are people basically. And don't forget that the street system downtown was built when Algoma Steel had 10,000 employees in the 70s, and the downtown was a thoroughfare. Well, downtown now is a thoroughfare, but there's no traffic, and they have these people want to live on a street that has high speeding traffic in front of it. You don't want to bring your children up in that area. So to me, changing the downtown to what I call a really walkable neighborhood is basically the only way to really do a long term or solve a lot of these secondary issues, I call them, because crime and vacant properties and all these things to me are secondary to the fact that the downtown needs to be vibrant and people want to live here. And property is value to building a house downtown. So that's all I'm asking. I agree that some of these things have been talked about, and I'm just trying to understand how this committee can be involved. Or I was thinking of subcommittees perhaps, because a lot of these things don't move very quickly. They've done some good things, like I think that the parking reform that have been enabled, that's a step in the right direction, but they could have taken a bigger step. They needed a support from this particular group, maybe. I don't know.
I think I understand, is good, your hand was already running. Yeah. I understand that, where you're coming from. I kind of think of the example of, the province has a drug issue, but they also want to have tourism, and you can't turn both off at the same time, right? So I understand that, there's a perspective of the fact that these are secondary, but there's also a perspective of you're not going to stop, hundreds of families skating in the Plaza Loop in the the wintertime and things along those lines. So as much as they might not be a particular passion, we have departments and committees that are working on these other things right now. We don't have a subcommittee and people working on these above. So I value the passion and the work you've done in the community over time. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it looks like for our committee to be engaged in these first points that I've started to make. So these are all, what you're saying is all correct, but we've also made decisions whether we're going to spend X million dollars on converting Bay Street to 2 lanes, or if we're going to make it a 2-way street. So there is a part of it where it's like some of these decisions have been made, and there's a part of it where you said a lot of these decisions take a lot of time. So maybe if you're okay, I'll take that back. I'll try and put some effort into what that might look like. But I also think that the committee is spoken in regards to this table and what the priorities are for the community.
And council, really, I would say, if I could, I think council has said that this committee is specific to event planning and marketing and activating the downtown. I agree, you know, that we need to, that more housing in the downtown and housing on existing parking is one of the ways that we'll get activation of the downtown and safety in the downtown, but ultimately, I think what Josh is saying is this committee can play a role in providing feedback when those discussions come up, but on the parking issue, we've already made the reforms. This committee didn't exist at the time those reforms were made. On the housing incentives, this committee didn't exist at the time those, but as they come forward, I would say it wouldn't be a stretch, for example, to ask the planning department to seek the feedback of this committee when there's rezoning in the downtown or a housing proposal in the downtown. I think that's within the realm of possibility. Or, I mean, the incentives already do this. They already are higher if you're in the downtown, but maybe this committee would have an opinion on whether they should be higher yet if you're in the downtown, right? Because it hasn't produced anything yet. They've only been around for 6 or 8 months now, those housing incentives, but the work that's in the pipe could still see some of that stuff come to fruition. So
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there's need to limit what you decide what you're gonna work on and focus on. And I just sharing what I feel is important to me, but I mean, the committee that makes that decision too, so I am certainly willing to participate and help. Oh, yeah, with some of these other things, although it's not an area that whatever, I can provide my feedback from an outlier, I suppose. Right, there.
If I'm clearly passionate subject for you, albeit like a very heady and expansive one, as there are, you know, when you're talking about safety. But as a reactionary body, if I'm understanding this committee, you could look at an issue like parking and say, hey, I can't turn a parking lot into 3 or 4 houses overnight. What can our committee or how can our committee respond to a vacant space like this that's maybe otherwise unused? Can we throw an event there? Is there, you know, what are the logistics of occupying that space and seeing that it is utilized? I think is what maybe what we're doing is trying to achieve here for the health and wellness of downtown. If there are spaces that are, you know, unused and they're in the discussion of being reworked or redeveloped or changed in some larger way, you know, I think our committee can discuss what to do there in the meantime, I guess, or what business to partner with, you know, maybe, you know, that is, if I'm, you know, understanding correctly, like kind of what we're hoping to achieve with, you know, seeing loopholes or pockets where we can go in and find opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
If either of you have anything to say, just flip your camera on for a second, otherwise we'll keep moving through it, but just wanted to acknowledge you there. I see that Isabella joined us.
Thanks, Soph.
I did still, just to Dawn's point, on Municipal Heritage Committee and Historic Sites Board, they have a member that is on both that reports back to the other. So I think that works in other settings and it could work here.
It would certainly assist staff time with
Yeah.
administration of the sub.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions or comments?
Just on the. I recommend some of this is one we know that I see. So will it be like, will the strategic plan that comes back to us or the kind of summary sheet that comes back to us identify which events will be the marquee events? Your spreadsheet kind of had it last time.
Yes.
Okay.
So Bree and I are actually meeting just based on the holidays. Bree and I are meeting on Friday to review that event list, develop kind of what we would consider to be marquee events based on attendance or the amount of partnership is another evaluation. And then potentially some economic impact. And with that information, we'll kind of provide that suggestions of those events to the year. Okay, that's our goal.
That's what I would say now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so resolve that staff be directed to refine the identified strategic priorities as discussed and return to the next downtown development committee meeting with a finalized document that includes key activities for each priority, potential partners and collaborators, and measurable indicators of success for tracking purposes. May I have a mover and a seconder?
Yeah, I'll move if I can.
Oh,
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So next is marketing and social strategy.
this one is just a bit of an update. So in our initial report to council regarding the status of the BIA, we referred to a number of other municipalities that also absorbed association responsibilities. So in the last month, Brianna and I canvassed those municipalities looking for best practices in regards to how they advertise their local businesses. That was the big conversation that we had last month. It was a little inconsequential due to the fact that the municipalities were either in the same state we were in because it's so early on, or their size was different, either too small or too large and had multiple BIAs inside of their municipality. So we kind of came up a little weak in regards to information. So what I take away from that is Tessa said this, if Tessa watches this later, we're trendsetters. And as such, we have to think about this as being trailblazers. So in speaking with our communications department, this gave us a good opportunity to look at the entirety of the city's online presence. We just launched a new website and operational inefficiencies. So what that means, our communications department heard the committee loud and clear and has been working hard drafting some suggestions and path forward best on the committee's conversation, and is hoping that they can attend the February meeting and present their suggestions to this committee for social media accounts and things along those lines. How we will aggregate all of those different platforms, how we will be advertising events and local businesses and amplifying messages from social media platforms that already exist. But as much as I think that I have a kind of a deep knowledge, they're subject matter experts and have had some really great insight. So just haven't been able to cross the finish line. So it's just about an update, and we're hoping to have them on the agenda for next month. In the meantime, we also discussed a calendar similar to the Tourism Sault Ste. Marie calendar, where businesses can go in and populate their information and share it, and it would auto-populate on our calendar, auto-delete when that date is done. The T's have been crossed for that, so that is going to live on our saultstemarie.com/?. Don't know what it's called yet, but that's been approved. We've had a conversation with Tourism Sault Ste. Marie and their website provider on how that calendar works, that functionality, if we could call it on to new downtown calendar specific. So we're working away on that. That is not yet, but we're in motion. Oh, sorry.
Any questions or comments about that? No?
I did actually.
Yeah.
One, will there be some type of safeguard for what's going into the calendar?
Yeah,
So
it'll
we'll
have to
actually
be
look at it.
approved by staff members.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's a free for all.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it works the same as the tourism site had multiple staff that would review it, make sure that it fit the parameters. And we will have to put a little bit of policy towards that, as well as for the social media account. We're going to have, I don't want to say gatekeep, but we're going to have some sort of parameters in place that we're not sharing content that would not be comfortable.
And then, how is our communication or ability to reach businesses in the downtown to get this information to them? Like, are we compiling a list of all the businesses and how we're going to contact them to
Yeah.
disseminate information?
That's another great question. Yeah, because we are now working with the city's definition of downtown, we haven't been able to find just a quick holistic list of all those businesses. So Bree has been working hard at that. Thank you so much. Gathering all that information, crossing T's, dotting I's. In the meantime, city IT has added a new inbox downtown SSM. We're working on a dedicated phone line, how that'll be monitored. getting that information out to all the businesses on who to contact, read everything inside of our scope of work, whether it's, you know, a public works issue, a beautification issue, an event coming up. To your point, I think you said one-stop shop, right? So that we can kind of be, the advocate for disseminating information to our targets. Yeah, that's a motion.
Have we come up with any boundaries of what is
Oh,
considered downtown?
yeah, so downtown is from Huron Street, where the Canal District is, to the Bush Plain. And from the waterfront, and we've made the decision to Albert because of the lack of businesses up to all.
Did you point?
I just had one thought about I know we talked before about using the social to promote businesses or events.
Mhm.
I think if the focus was only on businesses, but also businesses, or sorry, only events, but
Okay.
businesses that participate, so that would be more incentive for downtown businesses to participate in these events.
It was,
So if you want promotion,
it was absolutely a conversation that we had up with communication, and I think that's where staff will be bringing back some like a draft policy, or maybe review and figure out what our parameters are, so we're not. Because another comment that I had is we have a lot of service sector businesses downtown, and does that mean that they just don't get acknowledged if they, you know, are, you know, what's the mix and what's the permissions there? So kind of having that conversation, I completely agree with you. I don't know if we have. Sorry. No, I don't. I was thinking that the more holistic conversation about that once communications comes back to us with their proposal might be the best way forward.
And with the boundaries, have we, you know, created any kind of communication to let the city know? Because when people say downtown, they think of, you know, various streets as well.
Sure.
They're not necessarily thinking of, you know, the Bush Plain all the way to the Millmore.
No, not yet. I mean, there has been formal conversation and a reminder of things like council member or council when that's been discussed, us discussing it right now, but no, we haven't really actuated that conversation. And as Bree gets those numbers together and that information together, that's when we'll start. And I'm hoping for a 30-day window on that.
Okay, because I'm looking at the KPIs, you know, with our residents, you know, providing us feedback, you know, so they're aware of the boundaries. So that they're like, they can provide comments and feedback areas that we are not part of committee of, but at least they're aware, so it's not going to negatively impact her.
Right. I do, yeah.
Okay, so resolve that staff be requested to explore marketing and social strategy options and report back to the committee. And I have a mover in a second.
Well, did Bella have something? Sorry.
Oh,
sure.
Question, that's my bad, sorry. I just want to know, like, if when the events, are the like downtown events being run by the downtown plaza, or will it be like the city that does these downtown events?
So it'll be run by me more
Yeah.
often than not. Which I'm a city employee, I just happen to also manage.
Yeah,
it.
kind of like, is it going to be under the umbrella? Like, will Sioux Downtown kind of be, you know, marketing these events, I guess?
Oh, I think the idea is to figure out, you know, we were throwing around, for lack of better words, a super channel.
Yeah.
Has all those things, and I know the mayor had asked, well, can we kind of rebrand the plaza page to it? I think the prevailing idea is to generate a new kind of super channel that'll aggregate data, so it would be the downtown street party or Moonlight Magic, or something happening at the plaza, or something happening on another site.
Right, because I mean, most of like a lot of the downtown events happening are at the plaza, right? So I mean, it would kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's true. I just again, like the conversation is, do you put the OHL party at the plaza, and will that confuse people because they come down to the plaza? Do you rename that page? Do you make a new page? And again, I know you're more knowledgeable in this than I am, and that's why I'm kind of trying to give you the best answer that I have. But I'd almost want to wait for our communications department to.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, no, that's great.
And also,
No, you answered it. That's all good.
Okay.
Yes.
it's kind of like the plaza's the heart, and then it's all the different avenues that kind of stretch out from it. Just feels kind of.
I don't disagree maybe for the need to consolidate, like you said, having like a super channel, like for oversight of. Cause you know, maybe an event at, you know, the tap room would want to get advertised through that channel. It is a downtown event,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like. There's going to be, some kind of skeletal branches that would benefit from having that extra advertising.
It would be a shame if someone showed up to go see the Blue Girls Plaza. As much as I'm. Right, so that's the conversation that's being had, so, right.
And I think you gotta be able to disseminate between like a public facility and a private facility.
Mhm.
So, cause I mean, like the machine shop area, like, you know, that's a private enterprise. They have their own events, they have their own, like, it's not necessarily publicly funded or in a publicly owned space like the downtown plaza or Bondard, for example, where like, you know, you don't wanna like, you wanna collaborate, not compete.
Yeah, but that's like some of the points we brought back from last meetings, if we're promoting. Businesses downtown, how come you can't promote, you know, a concert from a private business downtown? Or what if a private business rents the plaza or the Bondar site? Now it's kind of a hybrid, right? So.
So it's good for the goose, I think, you know?
Yeah, but just saying like, and even one more step to your point is we had a conversation about, you know, if this is successful, we do a really good job. You know, the hoteliers now have a place where I know I can go to the machine shop for a blues concert. I know I can go to this public thing for my kids to see a movie, right? So, and that's kind of where that policy piece comes into place. You don't want policy that is so rigid that it's impossible to navigate, but you want it enough so you kind of know how to stay on rails.
Yeah, like, maybe I didn't make the point that I was trying to
Oh,
make.
sorry,
Like,
Don.
I'm trying, like, I'm not saying that you can't compete. You want to be able to have it open to have people have equal opportunity, be it a
Oh.
public enterprise trying to do an event and a private enterprise trying to do an event,
Right.
right? You want to be able to have equal access so that, I mean, overall, the goal is to increase the number of events, for example, regardless of how they're run.
Yeah.
Is just ensuring that there's equal access to the piece, you know, like, for example, like, you know, we talked about a communication strategy about saying, having an aggregated place where people post, right? We want to be able to, regardless of who's putting it on, whether, you know, something that came out of this committee.
Yeah.
Or, you know, some private promoter trying to do something, you know, they have equal access to say, hey, I'm promoting my event.
Yeah, so I interpreted it exactly. Sorry about
But at
that.
least you were both making the same
Yeah,
point.
yeah. That's
My fault, yeah.
Absolutely. I think the main thing that one of the main things that came out of our communications meeting that I think would be very useful here to know is our main point is to have a place that shows how much is going on downtown, even just in one specific day. So I know Dennis brought up a few times Halloween on Queen, and you know, maybe he's doing that with his family, and then he's going to an event at a restaurant, and then going to the plaza to watch a movie and, you know, be on the splash pad if it's not too cold in October, or maybe it's already snowing. But that was kind of the and that's why Josh kind of mentioned the tourism page, which is a great example, and it's so easy to navigate. And it shows you just Friday night, 1, 2, 3, 4 events going on. Walk down Queen Street and your entire night is booked, which is, I think everyone here, that's what we were looking for.
And just to that, Isabella, if you had started that in your previous posting, that was the inspiration for that. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Oh, no, please don't take all
that's
the, take all the inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say it again. Resolve that staff be requested to explore marketing and social strategy options and report back to the committee. May I have a mover and a seconder?
Just question on clarification there. Is it going, are we asking the staff come back for the February meeting specifically?
We've been advised we want to try.
Okay, so we won't specify.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if we didn't on that one, but that's the goal.
Was that too specific? That one?
I wanted it to be more specific, but
Okay.
I think we're gonna go with more looser.
Okay, so you were my first and you're my second? Yeah, okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. So we will move on to the budget update.
Very small. I just wanted everyone to know that with the business improvement area finalizing operations, we've had some additional funds or leftover funds from the BIA budget deposited in our account. Our manager of finance is completing year-end transactions required by the BIA, as well as an audit that they still need to perform. Once that's done, we'll be informing the committee of the leftover leave. So that's all.
What's the ETA?
ETA?
Like, what do they usually take?
Well, the audit is usually done close to the end of the first quarter, so we can, April. Yeah. That's all.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay, resolve that the budget update be received for information. Mover and a seconder. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next we have the leveraging empty retail space for experiential marketing campaigns. And this item built on previous discussions and staff work. More update on that?
For sure. So we had gently talked about what we can do to fill up vacant space last meeting. I will say, so we took this information back when we did this campaign. I was at the Downtown Associations, wasn't overly successful for a number of reasons. At the time, we were canvassing for artwork and installations like bridge building competitions that required multiple rows of tables. And a lot of building owners who were trying to lease their property saw it as clutter. So the cohesion as well, when you went downtown, besides a running Downtown Association banner at the bottom of the window, it was difficult to see the connective tissue. Dennis brought up a point at the last meeting about, I think it was Detroit's downtowns and the maps, and you had just mentioned, I listened to the meeting, mentioned cohesion and kind of this artistic way of showing this wayfinding. So that stuck with me. So following that meeting, Brianna and Alana Kanopik, our manager of tourism, because they've been identified in the resolution too, met and kind of maybe iterated on this idea as a concept and what it could look like. So I kind of just put a quick example and then we can talk about it. So I'm going to use 10 vacant properties as an example. Hopefully we're not looking at that, but if you had 7 window clings, vinyl window clings, kind of similar to the graphic we're seeing behind us, that advertised infrastructure in our community, the downtown trolley, the Bush Plane Museum, things that are permanent, that we know that are going to be around for the year. And then maybe took 3 window clings that were seasonal, promoting programs like the Bonsu Winter Carnival, the Salty Marie Trail Fest, things that, maybe a quarter, maybe half a year, something like that. Or it could be one of our downtown events that the committee endorses, right? And then we could have maybe somebody from this committee work on a cohesive design. We could do a QR code or advertisement to our new social platforms. We could have a banner on our new calendar page. It could be passive programming. You could gamify it, encourage more foot traffic downtown, have a scavenger hunt where passerbys would need to fill something out online for clinging to enterprising by maybe somebody we're giving passive advertising for a year or two, things along those lines. Like I said, it could be advertised on our new downtown landing page. We could use the plaza screen as one of our scrolling advertisements. Wow, that went up quick. And that along the lines was the idea of activating it, finding a way to design it with some cohesion, but also we have a whole bunch of billboards, potentially.
Like that idea. I think one of the seasonal ones that would make some sense a number of years ago. It's maybe pre-COVID. The Downtown Association had a billboard of all the summer street parties. I don't know if it was when you were
That
there.
was one I was there.
But that was great, because it was up all year. And it told you exactly when the downtown street party, I think it was probably the most successful year for street parties. Well, I don't know what billboard was what they cost, but you know, having marquee events like that listed in some of these windows, vacant window spaces would be helpful too, because it's just a reminder of what's going on downtown for sure.
It's nice and clean and easy to swap out. A window clean is just, it makes the most sense, I think.
I think initially, when it was brought up, I think I mentioned that we should have our inquiries first and figure out what we're trying to do. And so I think by taking this project and looking at our things we're trying to achieve, if it aligns with everything, that's a good way to come up with different topics or whatever for each one. And I think that does. We're trying to, like, some of the events though, I think they should be, or they asking, should they be just downtown events? Are we trying to promote the downtown by using the downtown, or do we want to promote outside of the downtown on these windows?
I think something that I'll say, and I think it can be equitable, but I think because this is a joint venture with tourism and this downtown development committee, I think there's an appetite, and not a big split, but a ratio, maybe 1, maybe 2 to be some of their larger things in their portfolios.
That makes sense.
But again, if we're using 5, or we're using 10, 2 seasonal, and then 6 that focuses on downtown, is still a great, you know, ratio.
Could I add a different twist on marketing, more geared to helping landlords lease their space, right? Because at this stage, you're saying like we're still collecting information about the businesses that are down here, where they are, how they operate, all that kind of stuff. Would it be interesting to know the amount of space that's available, the state of that space, and then building a marketing feature where we can connect people looking for space to downtown space that may be available that people don't consider, because whether they never thought of maybe opening up shop downtown, or thinking that the buildings are run down and, you know, you don't want to get tied into a lease to say I'm gonna have problems, you know, operationally. In this way, you know, even, you know, adopt, you know, if we have a tool that can do that, then, you know, being able to adopt where, you know, like in hotels, we use dynamic pricing, right? Cheaper prices during the lower demand periods, higher prices during high demand periods, right? So, you know, you can measure, you know, in the background, you know, the traffic you get to these sites. Are people looking for the space? Are they interested in the spaces? You know, do we need to, you know, encourage the landlords, work with the landlords to find, you know, pricing that, you know, helps them bid, so to speak. You know what I mean? Where, you know, people look how, you know, I'm looking for 1,000 square feet downtown for my pop-up shop during Christmas. You know, I can go on there, you know, you could have landlords go in there and say, hey, I have 1,000 square feet here. I'll give it to you for whatever, $7, $10, $20, whatever they want per square foot. And then, you know, that business person would essentially, you know, maybe have an offer of 2, 3 places where they can rent that, you know, just kind of do the legwork for it.
There used to be a landing page that had all the vacant spots listed, if it had been listed for a while, and I can't remember where that was.
But you were able to go as a landlord and just submit the information, and it was all on one page that you could see what was in the downtown district available and how much it was and what the square footage was and photos. I just can't remember where that was. No, no, it wasn't a Realtor website, but that is a good idea.
I think it was the downtown, like the previous downtown association, like for their like I forget what it was called, like their hashtag no vacant properties, but like you could submit on their website a vacant property and then they would list it on like the old Sioux Downtown Association website.
Thank you. I used to check that out all the time, to see what was available and how fast it's going. But I agree that filling the spaces would be the priority, but if they're not filled, just having something there.
Yeah, you know, I guess it's a different approach to marketing, right? Like, the idea is, you know, yeah, we want to advertise in the windows, for example, different events and stuff, but also provide marketing support for those landlords down there to, you know, and who knows, like, you know, like, I mean, where you can go with it, where you know, you can say to somebody, but you're asking way too much money here because your property isn't very good. You know, what kind of incentives can we have so people keep good quality space available? You know, so that me as a small business guy that maybe wants to do a little store, I'm not spending, or I'm not, you know, they're not advertising thousands and thousands of dollars of costs and leasehold improvements. You know, that already is gonna put me behind the eight ball, you know, trying to run my business, so to speak.
Yeah, so with the previous program, something that was really helpful to the landlords in the downtown was they had a database of people that had looking for startup spaces, and they had their description of what they were looking for in terms of a space and what their needs were, and then all their contact information. And as a landlord, you're able to get this list from the previous downtown association, reach out to them with the agreement that a lot of these folks were new or looking for startup spaces or were looking for some sort of deal. So the previous organization worked as a bit as a facilitator to connect landlords to people that were looking for new spaces in the kind of spirit that the landlord is going to give them a bit of free rent or a break to start, knowing that it might last 60 days, 90 days, something like that. And then the people would go to, you know, market rent or below market rent thereafter. It was helpful in that it brought landlords and tenants together and helped facilitate that. So I think not only is it important to get a directory of, say, empty spaces, but also people that are willing to start businesses and, you know, what they're looking for. Because, you know, office space might be a dime a dozen, where shop space or maker space might be more rare. So things like that I think are helpful, and that's something that would be great for the city to get back into.
So I made a note about advertising in that realm, and I made a note about this vacant space as well as this facilitation of landlords and tenants. I think I'm adding it to my economic development meeting as well for now. See where they're at and see if they have any germinations about things like this, because it's a little bit more in the economic development side of things. And if they have a project or we can collaborate, well for it.
Yeah, because the one thing I mentioned at the last economic development meeting was, you know, taking the concept of, you know, like microloans, like they do in some third world countries where, you know, especially to get women or under serviced members of society, like, you know, he's got a seamstress, but, you know, she can't make any money. We give her, you know, $500 loan, she buys a sewing machine, she starts a little business. So using that same concept, but only to help with the startup, whether it's finding adequate space and, as Jason mentioned, you know, work, you know, having a deal so they can get off the ground and get their feet planted, get, you know, but housed in the downtown core.
I think there's, if I'm not mistaken, there is an incubator at Millworks that this might be able to align with more easily.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? I know it still says raised hand, but I think that's from previous, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
I have a question. So if we are gonna have window displays, you mentioned like designing them or some kind of, I'm thinking branding, obviously, 'cause it's what I do. Would it be a specific downtown brand, or is this? Because there was one for a while, right? It was pretty different. I know like Detroit has, it's a very distinct brand for the downtown. Or just be the city's colors branding probably makes sense because it's already.
That's where my instinct goes, because the whole point was bringing this in-house and utilizing those brand assets, which there are many. So yeah, I would say yes.
On that point, could we ask the comms team for the recommendation on that? I suspect they're going to say it's probably the city's branding, but maybe we can ask them specifically.
The city's branding, meaning what?
We have a comprehensive brand. Our logo, you can kind of see a little bit of the wheel there.
Of course,
Yeah.
only because maybe with Dennis on this one, I think like if we are, the kind of mapping downtown in an official sense, maybe connecting the dots, adding some landmarks. I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to add maybe a little bit of new graphic design elements to that. That might showcase some of the, you know what I mean? Maybe you have the boardwalk, you have the mill, you have the Canadian Bush Lane, the museum, maybe courthouse, some of the historical landmark pictures like of the Sioux and, I guess you could still incorporate some of the city's branding in that.
This is like a whole branding discussion, but
Yeah.
I think that there's so many different elements to the city's brand that there's a million different colors and assets already. I think you could just take, like downtown Detroit is like a mint green.
Yeah, you can
It's like
simplify.
the old statues. So take one of these colors. You just use that as the primary downtown, it's still the city's brand. But it kind of defines it, like I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's an option, but. I was trying to picture. With 10 new full window displays, how nice that would look for people to come downtown. If it's well done, branded with solid colors, whether it's different colors or color, whatever. I think it would have a pretty nice impact.
And with that, to be able to recognize that is the communication that we're setting forth, so they'll stop, because I know it's coming directly from us.
Would that automatically be handled in-house? Could you petition to have maybe local artists, draw it up? Sorry.
Committee members.
I guess my 2 points of stat on that is one, just to loop back on, I understand, Jamie, I know you're a very creative individual, but.
Oh, I'm not saying.
No, I know, but no, I know you're not. But what I mean to say is that with this whole new visual identity, if you look at all of our social platforms, you will find all of our different, arts and culture, and the plaza is an iteration on what the brand is. So we can ask communications. I'm feeling like you said, communications is going to say, well, yeah, we're just going to iterate on this in a different way, like we did with Active 55 or John Rhodes. But as far as creation of these advertisements, I think there's opportunity that it's not necessarily done by the communications team, or there is a motion on the floor to seek support from committee members for this initiative, though. So as long as we don't hit quorum, if one or two people wanted to express interest to work on this project, that's what we're today. So,
But furthermore on branding, I think what these guys are maybe trying to get at, maybe they're wrong, is you want to be able to like break it up into districts. Like for example, obviously not in the same category, but you look at New York City, right? Wall Street has its own branding, Broadway has its own branding, whatever, Chinatown, whatever, all the So that's the kind of idea I think you're getting at, right? Where you're saying, okay, downtown. Yeah, like, obviously we take from what the city, because it's all part of the city, right? But saying like having downtown as its own kind of standalone community within the community, you know what I mean? And then building that out, like, our focus is obviously downtown, but building out on different parts of the city, right? Or, we got uptown or, whatever you want to call it up, in other commercial areas or residential areas and stuff like that, so that you can actually, build a kind of a sense of community within the community. And then, spur interest, not only amongst people in the city, but people visiting the city, they have an idea. I want to hit these parts of town, right? What am I looking for? Right?
I think there's the opportunity to do that. Our wayfinding signage uses color coding for different districts in town. I don't know what the downtown district's color is specifically, but I think to Dennis's point, whatever it is on our wayfinding signage, that's probably what we can kind of draw on for the downtown branding within the broader whatever they call it, the themes that are marketing imagery can use, right? There's the water, there's the aesthetic type.
I was trying to help you out there. Yeah, I don't disagree, and I think there's also something to be the aware of that, we're also probably not gonna sink a lot of, finances into something like this, so utilizing what's already there in a unique way on these kind of smaller pieces that don't cost that much is of value. Because there aren't going to be a million indicators overnight. We're talking about up to 10 signs. So being smart about it and being bold about it as well.
So are we appointing Dennis and Jamie to the subcommittee? That's what I'm. Did I pay it? That's what you're getting for this committee double.
Yeah, exactly.
I can move forward with the
Yeah,
first motion there. Yeah, okay. So resolve that staff be directed to prepare a report on the proposed empty retail space activation initiative, bringing it back to the Downtown Development Committee for review and approval. The report shall include a cohesive visual campaign for vacant first floor properties in the downtown core, planned installations and interactive elements designed to attract foot traffic, gamification and branding strategies to create a unified downtown experience, and a proposed budget and potential funding sources for implementation. And may I have a mover and seconder?
Can I add one question on that?
No.
So I know a few years back we did that. And guys, forgive me, I'm having a hard time hearing. So if I'm repeating something that's already been said, forgive me, because I can hear some people talk and I can't hear other people talk. We did that facade improvement grant a couple years back that I thought was amazing and really helped the whole downtown. Because as these buildings refreshed their facades, they looked great and it was helpful to the downtown. It was helpful to the city, and we were able to leverage provincial money to do it. Is that something we can put on the table again to evaluate to see if that's something we can fund again?
What I can tell you, Jason, to be succinct, is that the planning department is very aware of how much the community loved the facade improvement grant. And I think we should hold tight on that for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Just on that point, because I meant to mention it when we were talking about this one. I think it was economic health and vacancy or cleanliness and upkeep could really go under either. I wondered if we should put some coordination with the Community Development Corporation. I know they have available, I think, low interest loans for facade improvements. Now that I don't think gets to what Jason is talking about entirely, which is grants. But at least it's one of the partners we could try and direct people to if folks are planning on doing this work anyways.
Let's do that again.
No.
No.
On that note, sorry to continue, are there any, I mean, a lot of our downtown buildings are, historical. Are there organizations that monitor the, health and well-being, or at least just the continuity of like historical designated buildings?
We actually have a heritage site committee inside the municipality that keeps a database. There are contingencies for maintaining that historical designation and
Yeah.
things like that. So there is, and there are safeguards in place that if you have a historic designation, you can't just necessarily
Let it go.
Yep.
They inspect them once a year.
That's right.
Oh,
Sorry, could I, just one thing, for example, I was approached by some outfit from out of town. Their pitch is to, put those vinyl clings on my elevator doors, pay me a fee to have those things. Personally, I would sooner highlight local things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To do something like that. So I don't know if that, like, I mean, maybe not, not everything's got to do with downtown per se, but I think there could be appetite to be able to, community-minded places or public places, like even the hospital, for example. I know they put their own stuff in the elevators, for example, to put, the list of the waterfront, for example.
I wonder if, just like the work that tourism did with the signage in the airport, that.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, but like I said, that's where, I just, it occurred to me after we talked about the window things for the thing, but using assets that are there that, generate traffic, I know they put the advertising in the arenas, I know they charge you for that kind of stuff here, right, but.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, obviously, if there's budget for that or not, or, like, I know we're just starting out, so. Just something out there, listen, like, personally, I mean, obviously, my business is to promote the city and visitation to the city and stuff like that, so I would rather, like I said, than just have Coke come in and put a Coke.
Yeah.
Make my elevator look like a Coke bottom thing, you know what I mean? I'd sooner put out, like, a vista of the city or.
Yeah, with the QR code to our calendar.
100%.
Dawn's got me running, they have.
100%.
No, I love it. I'll take that back to you. I love that.
Anything else? Okay, so I'm just gonna, we did a mover and a seconder, all those in favor? Okay, any opposed? That motion is carried. And then there was another motion for that one,
Jamie,
yeah? You guys wanted me,
work on the window.
That a motion?
It will be in a second. They both of you-
the official question is, do we want someone on the, go put up your hand and this?
Either staff would start working on it and bring back kind of some conceptual ideas, or bring back that budget, that last motion to have some do it, or we will
Well, I have
work on
some-
it together.
I have some thoughts that I could sketch out quickly if that's a good starting point. For sure.
What's the motion? say?
Yeah.
Motion that Jamie and Dennis be appointed to join and support the staff in the development and implementation of the empty retail space activation marketing campaign.
So, are you okay with that? Sure. You okay with that?
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
So I'll move that.
thank you. Seconder? And all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, so now we just have upcoming events. Yeah, finally, under business arising, we have upcoming events, and Josh will review upcoming events and opportunities.
Mayor kind of alluded to what I was going to share here, is that Brittany and I are meeting on Friday. We're going to take a look at the 2026 calendar in regards to, kind of our marquee events, and trying to highlight two in the downtown core month. We'll bring back, like I said, we'll review attendance and some KPIs and try and let you know why we're heading that direction. We'll also have some options for you, so it's not just here it is. And then as far as things that are on rails, the big thing that I guess we're working on right now is we have the Bonsu Winter Carnival coming up in February. Always a great opportunity to support businesses and get out and see your neighbors on bleak, dark winter months. So if anyone has any interest in Bonsu, being a part of Bonsu or working alongside us with anything, that's fine. And if not, enjoy it the way you want. The good thing about Bonsu the last few years, they've really injected it with programming that you can take a kid to. You could not take a kid to. Yeah, exactly, which I think we all know around the table, there was a little bit of that in years past. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Just on the, because Bonsu, I think, starts the same week as our next committee meeting. So what is the downtown activation ideas or plans for Bonsu
Sure.
participation?
Do you mean holistically, or do you mean from a staff perspective, like a city perspective?
Well, I guess what events are being planned in the core of the downtown?
Sure.
Cities closing a road for participating in a marketing or whatever it is.
Okay, great. The last 2 years, we've actually used the plaza as one of the landing zones for Bonsu, and it's been really successful. We've had things from glow skate, Valentine's Red, right, white skate, playing Frank Sinatra through the music. One thing that we've really enjoyed is we've done a newcomer skate, partnered with some private businesses to provide skates to newcomers who don't have those at all, give lessons, and then we've mixed that with a Hawaiian night. So we've had lays and we've played Moana on the screen and grilled pineapple and things along those lines. So there's activation there every day of the week, as well as in the Clerk Park area. We have pony rides and a Snackers Alley where we have local businesses come down, like to do maple taffy and things along those lines. So right in the core, there's that. The museum and the library and the art gallery, obviously, have programming as well. So that is our key deliverable when it comes to Bonsu on our municipal sites.
And will, for the time being, Plaza page be marketing what's going on?
That's right. For the time being, the Plaza page and Arts and Culture will amplify that message on their platform. And obviously, they'll be advertising that on the Bonsu proper page. Those are probably the 3 spots where that gets advertised. As well as we do print out for people who already use the Plaza skate trail. We do put up a big wing for their clothes.
I have a question about Bonsu.
Sure.
Like, have they spun themselves into a not-for-profit?
They've always been a nonprofit.
But I know they had their corporate structure change a little bit.
Yeah. They diminished in staff. That's when we were both over at tourism, revitalizing. They have a full board complement. They're all still volunteer. I don't know what their status is of their planning on staff.
Yeah, because obviously, we don't want it to get stale, kind of fall by the wayside, right?
Sure. I can tell you I feel like they're in full force. They were down at Moonlight Magic with their sauna and with buttons for sale in November already, which is a great target date to be selling buttons before Christmas, and that's something that hadn't occurred for a little while. So if you look at me and my communication interactions with them, tourism still helping them out. I feel like they're just as strong as they were a year or 2 years ago. I mean, I know that investment certainly gave them an opportunity to get a good deep breath of lungs again, and it feels strong from my participation.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, I know that they're kind of a private entity, but I mean, I don't know, at least maybe I'm not paying attention in the right places. It doesn't feel that they really communicate enough to say whether we need volunteers, whether, there's board opening up, whether it's fair that, like I know like when we give them the money, like, I don't know if it was you that sat on their board or whatever.
Yeah, it was.
But I mean, I just feel like it's such an opportunity, and
Sure.
I just feel like, you know, kind of, like it's not being taken advantage of. Cause I mean, it goes with the strategic plan, right? The tourism strategic plan to have a major event in the winter, each quarter, all that kind of stuff. And I've always believed monsoon's the thing, and there's so many related things that can happen with it, but
Yeah, I think it's a half and half, right? We live in one world and we're busy in our portfolios. The one thing I'll say, you know, on the flip side of it, I mean, I was just at the Greyhound game this weekend and they did a full game day takeover. They had their sauna in the parking lot. They had the logo, like a bat signal and sign. They were giving away stuff. So between that and seeing the Moonlight Magic, that's on the other side of it. I think that's yeah, they were at the New Year's Eve and they were giving away, you know, buttons at New Year's Eve and buttons at the New Year's Eve party. So yeah, it was. So yeah. For the mayor?
Fun to more.
Anyway.
no, I'm just curious, because
Yeah.
I don't hear much about it other than if it comes up.
Sure. Well, I don't know. I certainly don't know all the KPIs or anything. I think they're doing the best they can right now.
Thought on the events, the meeting, do you guys consider number of participating businesses or sponsoring or businesses affected, like secondary overflow of that
Yes.
sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, the number of partners, whether it's monetary or program based, is absolutely that. Yeah.
But I always go back to that, but I feel, and I don't own a business downtown, so you know, I don't know all the circumstances, but I feel like it could be more populated and supported. And there was not a lot of, you know, immediate gain for businesses to be open or to participate, but you know, there was like blocks where there was a single participating business, and I think the more participation, the other one, the better it's going to be for everyone. And then like the festival of beer, there was one restaurant that was, you know, a few doors down that was open and it was jam packed. You know, it was just direct result of the festival. So that's a opportunity for businesses if they want it.
I think we're about there. Anyway.
Yeah, we're pretty much done. Okay, so we'll move on if there's no more questions, no more questions. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 10th at 3 p.m. here at Civic Center. If there are no questions, we will move to adjourn. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the meeting? Me, Amy. And all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. The meeting is now adjourned at 4:20 p.m.
By online.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.